There is a powder that costs a few dollars an ounce that can erase most of the scratches on your car's paint, the light ones and the swirl marks and the dull, hazy oxidation. Not by repainting anything, but by polishing the damage smooth. Body shops charge $300 to $1,500 to fix what this powder can handle in about 12 minutes at home. The United States military has used it since the 1930s to polish precision optics for cockpit glass and submarine periscopes. It was used to finish telescope mirrors. Semiconductor factories use it right now to polish silicon wafers smoother than anything you can imagine. It has been the gold standard polishing compound on this planet for almost a century. And the average car owner has never heard its name, not because it failed, because it works too well, and because it cannot be branded or marked up the way the products on the shelf can. A powder that lets you skip a $500 shop visit is not something anyone can build a business on, so it was quietly left off the consumer shelf, classified as an industrial chemical, and buried in supplier catalogs full of jargon and part numbers no regular person would ever open. This is the story of cerium oxide, and the industry that would rather you never found it. Here is where we dig up what they buried, and the subscribe button and the bell are how you make sure it stays dug up. Go back to 1803. In Sweden, the chemists Jöns Jacob Berzelius and Wilhelm Hisinger isolated a strange new metal oxide from a mineral sample. In Germany, Martin Heinrich Klaproth analyzed the same kind of ore and reached the same conclusion on his own. They had found a new element hiding inside bastnasite and monazite rock, and they named it Cerium after Ceres, the asteroid discovered just 2 years earlier. In pure form, it is silvery and so reactive that shavings will catch fire in open air. But its oxide form is stable, pale and chalky, and it has a property no one understood at first. Rubbed against glass with friction and water, it does not simply scratch the surface. On glass, it works chemically as well as mechanically, bonding to the silica and carrying it away in a slurry, leaving a finish so smooth that light passes through without distortion. For over a century, the standard for polishing glass had been iron oxide, cheap and everywhere and painfully slow, taking hours or days for precision work. Then, in the 1930s, researchers found that cerium oxide polished glass not just faster, but fundamentally better. Iron oxide grinds the surface down grain by grain. Cerium oxide combines that mechanical action with a chemical reaction, the friction generating heat, the heat driving a bond between the cerium and the silica, pulling the glass surface smooth at a scale measured in billionths of a meter. By the 1940s, every major military on Earth had switched to it for their optics, periscopes and binoculars and bomb sights, where in wartime, the clarity of a lens could decide whether you hit a target or missed by a mile. After the war, it moved into civilian optics, telescope mirrors, camera lenses, and then into semiconductor manufacturing, where it is used in a process that polishes the silicon wafers inside your devices. Every phone screen you have touched, every camera lens in your pocket, was finished with this powder. And here is where it matters for your car. But first, understand what your paint actually is, because it is not one layer, it is a stack. At the bottom, the bare metal or plastic of the panel. Above that, a coat of primer that bonds everything to the body. Above that, the base coat, the actual color you see. And on top of all of it, the clear coat, a thin, transparent shell of urethane resin that protects the color from sunlight, rain, sap, and road grime. Here is the number that changes everything. Your clear coat is only about 45 to 65 microns thick. A human hair is around 70. Your car's entire protective armor is thinner than a single strand of hair. So when a shopping cart scrapes your door, when a branch brushes your fender, most of the time it is cutting into that clear coat and no deeper. And that is the fact the pricing model depends on you not knowing. The large majority of scratches that look terrible, the ones that make you wince in the parking lot, live entirely inside that clear layer thinner than a hair. They never reach the color, let alone the metal. And a shallow scratch in the clear coat does not need a panel sanded down, reprimed, repainted, and re-cleared. It needs polishing. That is what cerium oxide does on paint. It is an ultra-fine polishing compound and worked into the clear coat. It gently levels the light scratches, the swirl marks, the cloudy oxidation and haze that sit in that top layer, bringing the surface back to smooth and clear. On glass, it does its full chemical trick. On paint, it is a fine mechanical polish, and for the light, shallow damage that makes up most of what people panic over, that is exactly enough. A body shop does 4 steps over 4 hours for $400 minimum. For a clear coat scratch, a polish does it in 1 step, in minutes, for pennies of powder. If you have made it this far, you already understand paint repair better than almost any car owner out there. Take a second to subscribe and share this with someone about to hand a body shop $500 for a scratch that never reached their paint. So why is this not sold at every auto parts store next to the wax? Follow the money. The auto body repair industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars a year. Paint and refinishing make up a huge slice of it, and the single most common thing driving customers through the door is scratch repair. The simplest, most superficial damage there is, the kind that most of the time does not even reach past the clear coat. Shops charge anywhere from $150 to $1,500 a panel for it. Mobile detailers charge $75 to $300 to buff out what $1 of cerium oxide handles in your driveway. The entire pricing model rests on one assumption, that you have never heard the words cerium oxide or chemical mechanical polishing, that you believe a scratch requires a paint booth and a certified technician. For light, clear coat damage, it does not. You cannot patent cerium oxide. It is a naturally occurring mineral compound. You cannot brand it or make a proprietary yearly version. You cannot build a subscription around a powder that lasts for dozens of jobs per ounce. So it stays in the industrial and optical supply chains behind part numbers no consumer would search, while the auto parts shelf fills up with rubbing compounds and scratch pens and correction kits that can be branded, marked up, and relabeled every year with a new commercial behind them. Now I need to be honest with you, because credibility matters more than hype. Cerium oxide is not magic, and it will not fix everything. If a scratch has cut through the clear coat, through the color, and exposed primer or bare metal, no polish on earth will bring that back. You will see gray or silver in the groove, and that is a real body shop job. Primer and base and clear reapplied, and you should pay a professional to do it right. Cerium oxide is also, honestly, at its very best on actual glass, where its full chemistry kicks in, so it is a quiet miracle on hazed or lightly scratched windshields and glass too. But on paint, for the shallow, clear coat scratches, the swirls, the oxidation and haze that make up the large majority of what people overpay to fix, it earns its reputation. So here is exactly what to do. First, wash the scratched area with soap and water, get off all the dirt and wax, and dry it completely with a clean microfiber cloth. You want a bare, clean surface. Second, get cerium oxide powder, which runs about $3 to $5 an ounce online, and an ounce handles dozens of jobs. Mix roughly 2 parts powder to 1 part warm water into a smooth paste about the thickness of toothpaste. Third, apply it to the scratch with a damp microfiber cloth or a foam pad and work it in with firm circular motions, keeping it wet the whole time, because if the paste dries out, the grit can put fresh micro scratches into the finish. Add a few drops of water as you go. Within a couple of minutes, you will feel the surface getting smoother under your hand. Fourth, keep polishing for several minutes. You can use a machine polisher for deeper, clear coat marks, but if you do, keep the speed low and keep it wet, and go easy, because remember that clear coat is thinner than a hair, and aggressive machine polishing can burn straight through it and turn a cheap fix into an expensive one. When in doubt, do it by hand. Fifth, wipe the area clean with a fresh damp cloth, dry it, and run a fingernail across where the scratch was. Light marks will be gone. If it still catches hard, the scratch is probably too deep for polishing, and pushing harder just risks thinning the clear coat, so stop there. Once it is smooth, seal the spot with a thin layer of wax or clear coat sealant to protect it. That is it. A few dollars of powder and under 15 minutes against a shop quote of several $100s and 2 or 3 days without your car. One owner in Colorado polished a long cart scratch on the rear quarter of his Honda for the price of the powder and a cloth he already had, after a body shop had quoted him over $600 to refinish the panel. The light scratch came out clean. The industry built a business on you not knowing this. Cerium oxide was never lost. For 90 years it polished the lenses of submarines and satellites and the chips inside your phone. It just was never handed to you, sitting instead in industrial catalogs behind jargon and part numbers. Powders do not expire. Methods do not vanish. They wait for someone to open the vault. If this opened something for you, subscribe and share it with every car owner you know who is about to pay a shop to repaint a scratch that never went deeper than a strand of hair.